Welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee, coming to you from our home studios. If you're in the market for a new car, check out my guy, Matt Bowers, at one of his many locations. He's got the Ford dealership right next to our studio up there on Vets. Downstairs from there is the new pre-owned center. Check them out. They got a lot of great cars over there, great selection. They'll get you awesome prices, awesome service, awesome everything. You'll get in and out of there as quick as can be on the road in your new or pre-owned dream car, and Matt will get you right. So make sure you check out Matt at one of his many locations throughout the Gulf Coast region. All right, B, what do we got today?
We have our first segment presented by Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Nick, OTAs for us start tomorrow. It's our first chance to get out there and really see what this new team looks like. See the first taste of the Kellen Moore system, and just get out there and be able to absorb that. Of course, you have veterans. It's voluntary, so some veterans might not show up. Alvin kind of has already said that you won't see him there. But what are you expecting to see at the first OTA availability?
Yeah, Alvin's not out there, and that's normal for him. He's going to
Yeah.
do his work. He's going to be ready. Nathan Shepard, I'm not expecting to see in attendance this week. He's been out recently, so we'll see if he shows up for it. Demario Davis, I don't think is going to be there for this week's practices. I think he's working out on his own away. He's been with the team the whole offseason. I think this week he's just kind of working on some stuff, and he's going to be back
Okay.
next week. We'll see how that kind of plays out. So kind of interesting there. But yeah, I mean that's normal. I think we're going to see Tyrann Mathieu at some of them and not all of them right now. I just think as guys get later in their career too, they know what they got to do to prepare. There's going to be things that come up where it's like, I need to prioritize this over that. I need to take care of my body this way. I know I'm going to get more out of it if I do it this way. I think they just they know what they got to do to get ready for the season. And I think the Saints got a lot of, older guys and guys with families, guys with other, so I think some of that stuff comes into play. But I heard in the first practice, they kind of just worked through a schedule with the quarterbacks. Everybody got kind of even reps. Jake, Spencer, and Shuck, they split them up that way. I'm expecting we're going to see it through that process throughout this whole offseason program. I think, we're going to go out there on a Thursday and it's going to be like, oh, so-and-so got starter reps. Well, on Tuesday and Wednesday, it was different. And I think that's what it's going to be. So it really just, a lot of this stuff just depends on what we're seeing because they practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're out there every Thursday the next 3 weeks and things are going to change. But what do I want to see? What do I expect to see?
Yeah.
I think one of the things I want to see is just, I want to see the quarterbacks all stand next to each other and throw the ball and see who throws the ball the best. Like I just want to see stuff like that. I want to see who handles their reps the best. That's the headliner. I mean, it's every practice. Coming out of every practice, the first thing in the practice notes is going to be quarterbacks, and that's what it's going to be every day in these OTAs, every day in the mini camp, probably every single day of training camp, because that is the story of this team now. And literally nothing else matters after that if that isn't right. So that is the most important thing with the team. I want to see where Banks is lining up. I want to see if by the end of the 6 practices, we're able to watch if there's any type of tell on which way things are leaning. I doubt there will be. I think they're just going to go through a rotation on a lot of these things, and then come training camp, it's going to be set up. But those are my headliners, man. Those are the things I want to see. It's the things I'm going to be paying the most attention to.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just from a broad perspective, I want to see what changes have been made just in the tempo of practice. See, where the defense lines are, where the offense line. I don't think it's going to be too different, but just to see the possibility of it happening. I was going through Twitter yesterday and I saw even with the Dallas Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer, he added a ping pong table to the locker room. See what kind of things Kellen Moore might have added throughout this offseason just to give a sense of, I don't know, competitiveness or whatever goes along with that. But more about on the field side, I want to see the defense. I want to see who's out there. I want to see all these people that have been added and drafted in real life. I want to see how Verton Broughton's speed looks like on the field. I want to see what that secondary looks like. I want to see how Devin Neal plays. I want to see, of course, Tyler Shuck, but just to see everybody. I want to see everything. I want just that taste of, okay, football is on its way back.
So do you want a ping pong table in the locker room?
I want to see what they add up in there. Probably so. Ping
The
pong,
ping the
foosball,
ping
something like that.
the ping pong table is always the funniest thing to me because it gets brought in to build out the team. It's always a thing. Like people bring it in and it's like, this is going to be a team building exercise. We're
Yeah.
putting the ping pong table in there. And then if the team makes the playoffs, the ping pong table goes because now it's time to get down to business. Like it's like, all right, man. The Saints had one for a while, and it became this like incredibly elaborate thing where there was like a ranking system, and they had ranked matches, and there was like a list on the wall, and people would go above and below, and it became a incredibly big deal,
Yeah.
and like it was just insane how involved it got. And like Drew Brees really wasn't a part of it, but like Drew would walk through there every now and then. Like it was the craziest thing. And like I'm telling you, you got dudes like playing every single day you go in there. Like
Yeah.
the same people like going at it hard. And like every now and then, like Drew would walk through, get it set up. Like he'd go walk into the training room, do whatever he had to do for like 5 minutes. This was like 18. He had the shoulder injury going on. So he would like go in there and get like his little treatment, act like
Mhm.
nothing was going on, come back and just eviscerate like anyone, and then just like walk off and play. And like the shoulder thing was the funniest thing ever that year, because like it was a thing, and then they had the bye for the playoffs, and it was like, oh, Drew's gonna be fine. Like his shoulder got better. That was like all the whisper and everything. Like he's these 2 weeks off are gonna benefit him because they kind of faded at the end of that season a little bit. Mike
Yeah.
was saying it on the last show, and then like Drew was coming back, and they were playing the Eagles in week 1 of the play or week 2 of the playoffs after the bye, and it was like Drew's gonna be fine, and you could tell they really believed that, like because the very first play of the game, it was like the Eagles were like bunched up, and the Saints were going out there to air it out, and they tried to hit a deep ball down the field, and Drew throws a pick on the first play of the game, I believe it was, on a pass to Ted Ginn, and it was like, oh, Drew's arm is like not okay, and like they had to come up with like a new game plan on the fly, like still won the
Man.
game or whatever, but
Yeah.
like you know, as it relates to the current events, I guess, like going full circle here, like
Yeah.
we're all kind of like, oh damn, like Derek Carr can still do this, still do that. Well, like I don't know how bad Drew's shoulder was, but like he was still beating the hell out of people playing ping pong, and it was like insane. He would just like walk through. It was like some gladiator shit, man. Like line them up, and like they'd line it up, and like Drew would just murder people. Like he was an insanely good ping pong player. There was actually one match like he lost, and then he went away, he came back, and like he was a completely different player, and
It was a redemption arc.
like I guarantee like Drew was somewhere like just probably just like playing with like the other side up, to himself,
Right.
and like he just came back and just like was just killing people. Like Drew was a different kind of dude, man.
Man, that's wild. But something like that, getting a reputation for being a hyper competitive person, I think is important. I'm not saying, hey, Kellen, put a ping pong table in here day one. They have the basketball hoop up in there already, but something going. I don't. There's times where we're not in there, so we don't know how intense those shootouts get. But I just want to see another level of fire in the locker room, and on the field. I want to see the intensity. I want to see excitement on this team. I want to, because they've been punched throughout this entire offseason with the quarterback getting hurt randomly, and then he retires, and then now it's just a lot of things are in flux. But I want to see that juice of, hey, Kellen Moore's in here, he's bringing his new system. I want to see that go high.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want the ping pong table or not. Like the ping pong table was kind of annoying when it was
Yeah.
in there. It was
I-
Smash Brothers for a minute. Yeah, for like a year there was just like the Smash Brothers music playing in the background. But look, I think when like teams are doing that kind of stuff, though, like there's a closeness to it more
yeah.
so than even like the competitiveness. And I think when this team was like healthiest, there was like a lot of these like 20 dudes piled on the couch, like taking turns playing Smash Brothers or whatever. Like I think
Right.
when the team was in its best state, like these are the things that were going on.
No, for sure. And it's just as a part of it's a part of it, because these are people you're seeing all day, every day. You're together all the time. If you can enjoy the competitiveness of it, even when we were in California that whole time, I- that Monopoly game got wild between
Yeah.
you and I, just because we got to see how much fire each other had, and it was Monopoly. Like, that's a regular game, and it got pretty intense. Those
You
are
were cheating at Yahtzee, making up rolls on the fly. Yeah.
First of all, I never played Yahtzee a day in my life.
Or whatever.
Uno,
Uno. Yeah, you were
Uno.
making up Uno rules on the
I
fly.
wasn't
Fake
making
roll.
up Uno
Yeah, you
rules.
were.
I just were translating the rules that I had grew up playing with to the game. And then y'all want to talk about, oh, well, check the rule book. Yeah, what rule book? What are you talking about? Let's
Yeah,
just
you
play
were
the
making
game.
stuff up on the fly. I mean, like you were just doing things that would benefit you. Oh, you have to take 14 cards here. Like, come on,
Yeah,
man.
you can stack. right.
No, that isn't how it
All
works,
right.
man. That ain't how it works. We
All
we
right.
play by we play by the official rules, man. We don't play
Okay.
by the Thomas House rules. Like, no, we play by the Uno rules. Uno one set of rules, man. That's how it goes.
I
That's
hear
how
you,
it
man.
goes.
I hear
Yeah.
you. Any other things you're looking for in the first day? I mean, the heat is the first time really out there, so I'm kind of expecting that. You hydrating?
Yeah, I prepare for it. I train for it.
There you go.
I walk about 2 miles.
Okay.
At high noon, like when the sun's up there,
Yeah.
and I'm ready. I'm ready.
That's good, man. Let's roll into our next segment presented by Shyber Insurance, the Earhart Agency. As I just discussed a couple of minutes ago, there's been a lot of storylines and high drama surrounding the Saints this offseason with the Derek Carr saga. And it just that really is the one that was overshadowing everything. But what storylines kind of flew under the radar this offseason?
Undercover storylines with the New Orleans Saints that flew under the radar. I don't know, man. Like, there's just so much. It feels like everything was on the radar, like everything
Yeah.
was on top. The one thing I think that we didn't talk about probably enough, and I feel like it just kind of keeps coming up though. It is extremely alarming when you look at the edge rusher situation. Like it kind of, I don't think people are worried enough about it. I don't think people are probably worried enough about in general the possible deterioration of the defense as a whole. Like I think the lack of talent on that side of the ball is kind of really starting to stand out a little bit. Um, in a positive one that I think we probably haven't talked about enough is that there probably are the makings for the Saints to have like a top 10 offensive line if
Yeah.
everything works out the way they want it to.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've probably spent enough time talking about how that could be a legitimate bright spot on the team. Now, I think a lot has to come together for it to happen. I'm not saying it currently is a bright spot or a strength of the team, but I think it has the potential to be one of those things. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few things that I think have gone a little bit undercover.
One of the things that stood out to me where I was like, I hadn't really noticed it to the forefront until yesterday's video is really kind of when it solidified it for me. The video that the Saints put out of the first day of OTAs, just highlighting some of the things is Alontae Taylor's leadership role. He's now one of the older guys in the secondary. He's now one of the guys that's been here for the longest. And he's breaking down huddles. He's, leading groups and stuff like that. It's kind of something that's developed. And, he's active in the community. Earlier this week, he had this uniform thing with Leah Chase Elementary. So I think his development and growth as a leader now that Lattimore isn't here and he's knows that now he's playing not just for that other contract, but to kind of make himself bigger on the field. I think that's important too. And another one, not really undercover, but there hasn't been much information about it that we've been able to receive is Taysom Hill's status.
Yeah.
I just feel like, it's coming close to these voluntary OTAs, but then training camp is going to come, mini camp is going to come. Where's he at?
I've heard it speculated from um, credible spots that like retirement could be on the table, and I've heard it said from credible spots that retirement hasn't been discussed at all. So I said that to say I have no idea. I think if
Yeah.
he were to retire, it wouldn't surprise me. His contract never got touched. I know that there was kind of some thought process about playing around with that contract a little bit, and nothing ever happened. I might just be that, hey, look, nope, I signed. This is what I'm going to play on, and
Yeah.
that's cool. That's your prerogative. But like the fact that they didn't restructure it at all, like it is a little bit surprising to me, which would allow for a clean eject in a sense. If he were to do that, there's enough cap space right now. You could pretty much pay that bill. Obviously, if he waits 10 days, it's after June 1st, so then it gets accounted for another way. But I think it could. I think it could definitely. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I wouldn't be surprised by it. And that's not one of those things where it's like, oh, I know this is coming, and I'm going to play it. Like I really don't
Yeah.
know. I could see it going either way, but I think logically you got to look at it. He's at a certain point in his career, but I heard he's rehabbing hard back home in Utah, and I think the expectation right now is that he's still going to play.
Yeah. I mean, look, the way he capped off the season last year against that game in Cleveland, I mean, showed that he still has it. But coming off of this injury at this age, we'll have to see how that develops.
There's no doubt that he still has it. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. Like if Taysom's going to be on the team, I think you just have to have a plan for how to use him that doesn't become structural to your offensive identity at all.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of, hey, one of the, that, there were some lemons on the tree. Let's, I don't want to make a lemonade analogy. That's so basic, but you know what I mean? Like just something, you
Yeah.
just got to treat it like, hey, we have this, like a chef special or whatever. Like that day, these are the things you're putting together, but
Right.
it isn't a menu item. And that becomes tough though, because he is such a good player. He is so talented. And when he's available, it probably becomes very hard not to build the plan around him. But you have to approach it as if he could get, and I hate to say this, but like it's just the truth. Like you have to approach it as if Taysom could get hurt at any moment, and you just don't want to. You don't want to build around him in a way where if he exits a game, you're in a spot where it's like, what are we going to do now? And
Yeah.
that was the mistake. I think Kubiak's biggest mistake is that he leaned way too far into it. And I get why you would. You should. Like honestly, like he's that
Prospect.
talented based on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
talent. But the reality of it is that you can't. And then Taysom would exit and they'd be screwed, and they didn't really have a way back to success without him. And I had heard that was like literally the first conversation he had was with, how do we use Taysom? What's it going to be? And I get it. He's that enticing, but I just don't think you can build your team that way. And I think kind of what Kellen and Nussmeier and those guys are seeing right now, I think kind of lends to the idea of this is fragile and you got to approach it the right way.
Yeah. No. Just on the physical prospect of a Taysom Hill, do you think another one can be built on this team?
No, like if there was a minute where everybody was looking for a Taysom, and there aren't any other Taysoms in the league. I mean, there were a handful of teams that tried to get the right quarterback.
Yeah.
Saints tried to do it with the worst draft pick they ever made, Tommy Stevens. Like they couldn't make another one. I think he's just incredibly unique. That's not to say that there won't ever be another guy with like a certain set of skills that could do this, but I think part of the process too, though, is that you have to convince somebody to let go of their quarterback dream to really get the full Taysom Hill thing.
Yeah.
And I think it takes some time in your career to get to a point where you're willing to do that. So, no, the one thing about Taysom that we haven't talked about, you want to talk about under the cover storylines, is that we've talked about like quarterback leadership and not having a vet on the roster. I mean, he is kind of a veteran quarterback on the roster. Like he could possibly be someone that could help with that mentorship and be that guy that I think it's a huge need.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge need. I don't know how they address it, and I know they have a ton of people on their staff or whatever, but I just think that there's power in having somebody in that room. You're in a competition, three other young guys. If the coach goes up there and says something and you don't understand it, I think that there's value in having somebody in the room that a coworker can go to another coworker and be like, "What the hell is he talking about? I don't get
Yeah.
it."
Well, we're gonna hit a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue that discussion. Keep it locked to New Orleans.Football.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store.
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide flavored whiskey, Ponchatoula strawberry, and Chilton County peaches in your favorite bars, stores, and restaurants. Hardhide Chilton County peach whiskey is a blend of aged wheat whiskey, light American whiskey, and fresh Chilton County peaches from Alabama's Durbin Family Farms. And Hardhide Strawberry Whiskey tells the story of a small town famous for strawberry farming. A delicious natural strawberry infused 86 proof whiskey for whiskey lovers. Just look for the red and orange bottles in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants.
Welcome back from more NewOrleans.Football. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Nick, continuing our conversation from the last segment, the quarterback room is now just comprised of Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, and rookies. So do you think the Saints need to add a veteran quarterback? I know you just said that Taysom Hill is that veteran kind of presence, but we don't know what he's going to be on this team coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're comfortable with what they got, but I do think it's a need, and not in the sense of having somebody that can come in and play a game or whatever. It's what I was just saying. Like I think that there's value in having somebody in that room when you're completely lost and you don't understand things, that you feel like you can ask someone and you're not being judged by the person that determines your fate, because you're in a competition, and if you're unsure about something, yeah, like look, I'm not saying that Tolzien would hold something against someone or judge someone for asking a question, or Nussmeier would, or Kellen Moore would. I actually think good coaching in this situation would be not doing that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the person asking the questions wouldn't fear that in some
Yeah,
capacity.
for sure.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I want to look more put together than Jake and Spencer.
hmm
So I'm just gonna figure this out on my own. I don't want to tell them that I'm lost, that I don't understand. But like if Andy Dalton's sitting in that room and you can go like, Andy, like what the hell is he talking about? Like,
Yeah.
like I think that there's some value in having that outlet around. But look, maybe you can manufacture it another way. That I think there is enough quarterback experience. And like I said, I think Taysom can provide some of that, but like if he isn't in those meeting rooms, the value there is limited
Right.
as well. So yeah, I do think it's a need. I think it is something that they should look at. I don't think they're going to do it though. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, Mickey, he talked on Monday at the Saints Hall of Fame golf tournament about how, there's so many quarterbacks in those positions at coaches, but that's a great point of you're scared to kind of ask the coach because you don't want to be known as the guy that, well, oh, this guy came and asked me, how do I approach a, whatever. That becomes something that maybe they don't hold against you, but it's in their mind. It's in the back of their mind. Even
Their
thinking about,
counter their counter to that would be, oh well, like if they don't get it, it's going to show up on the field, so you can't fake it anyhow. So, but like you know what I mean, like so I guess it shows up regardless. You like in part of the job is having the confidence to probably ask questions and make sure you're on the same page. But yeah, I mean, it's just reality, man. Like it's
yeah.
just human nature. Like I know exactly what they would say to that point, but like I just don't necessarily agree with it. I think that there is value in having other people around.
Yeah, because even with the Caleb Williams development from his offseason stuff, I think he's like doing a book or something like that. You find out that he didn't know how to watch film. And I don't know how many of these rookies really know how to watch film like that, how they know how to process everything. So just the shortcomings that come with being new and fresh and a rookie and not having a vet there to, help you out and assist you, that could be really something.
Yeah, it could. Look, I think this coaching staff will make sure those blind spots don't exist. I think that coaching staff got cleaned out because they stink, and that was the stuff that was happening. They weren't coaching well. I think these guys will coach well. I think they'll make sure they know how to watch film and all that. But it's just like the little things, man. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, when you're in those positions. I think anybody at their job kind of know. Like no one wants to go to the boss, like the supervisor, and ask them,
Right.
yo, I don't know what the hell we were just talking about in this meeting. Like
Right.
and we've all been there before. I think I think that's just part of life. But I don't think it's someone you bring in even looking to play though. Like I think it's just someone that you bring in to be a caddy, like straight up, like a straight up
Sure.
caddy
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
all it would be. And look, I think as soon as I think if you're able to identify Tyler Shuck as your starting quarterback, like if that's on August 7th, if it's on September 27th, if it's not until next year, that's fine.
Mhm.
But if he ever emerges and grabs that role to the point where you're like, we don't have to look at anybody else at any other point, I think you then almost have a duty to start restructuring and reconfiguring everything you do on your team at quarterback, at offensive line, at wide receiver, everything you do on your team is about building the atmosphere that makes him the most successful, the most conducive thing for his success, which means at that point, it might be about collecting a veteran or veterans to put in that room instead of people that can compete and potentially have a job. Like, so I think your thinking has to change at a certain point once you feel like you've identified that person. It's like CJ Stroud. Like, they drafted dude from Florida because they thought that guy was going to be their. I think he went to Florida, the quarterback. They drafted him above other talented people because they thought he was going to be the best guy to come in and be able to support Stroud. Like, their scouting of that position changed a little bit, and I think that's how you have to look at that position no matter what. Like, once you know it's him, I think your priorities become tailored around your quarterback and what's going to make him better. What kind of receiver does Drew Brees need? That might be different. And Mike Thomas might be the best wide receiver in that draft class for Drew Brees, but he might not be the best wide receiver for somebody else. So I think once you know what you're building around, everything has to become about him. So I think it's fine to have this like young alpha dog competition to see who comes out on top. I think that might even be the best thing for the short-term development, is that you just put everyone in a cauldron and see,
See
what
who
it
comes
does.
out on
Yes.
top. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. But then once someone emerges, whoever emerges from that, it can even be Rattler, man. Like, if it's Rattler, like if you're like, man, this guy won this and this is our quarterback, like, man, we missed on 40, but we got our guy. Like, we don't have to look at anybody else. Everything you do then becomes about Spencer Rattler. If it's Jake Haener against all odds, if it's, whoever, like, that becomes the direction of the team. But that quarterback has to show you there's a direction before you walk that path. And maybe none of them do. Hopefully one of them does.
Yeah, I was scratching my head when the Texans took Graham Mertz. I was like, the dude from Florida, I thought he was hurt. I thought he, barely got any PT. DJ Lagway was the guy over there towards the end of the season, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Just get somebody in there that can help develop your system and develop your process. But when you have somebody that emerges as an alpha dog, how do you keep those dogs at bay? I'm talking about just kind of contractually at that point. You can't just start releasing people left and right. How do you like get that pecking order to where it's like, okay, well, all of these guys know that this is top guy. And I'm sure, once they figure it out, whatever chance they get, they'll try to take it. But in a support role, I'm sure they'll do the same too.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll fall into their spots or whatever, and just do what they got to do. I mean, I think we saw Rattler do that last year. I think we saw Haener do it, even though he was like, he felt a certain type of way when he was named the backup in week 1, and then he wasn't the backup in
Yeah, he wasn't
week
shy.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, but like, I think ultimately though he did what he was supposed to do week in, week out. I think all these guys will, because I mean that's really all you can do in that situation. And honestly, even if you don't agree with it, it's in your interest
To be
to not.
professional. Yeah.
Yes, because there's 31 other employers watching, and you don't want to be a guy. So I think it all falls into place how it goes, and it'll kind of be fine. It'll quiet down or whatever. Really, the noise is just it's more about like how would the quarterback handle outside noise. Like, if you're the starter and you have a bad game and everyone's on social talking about, put Spencer in, put Tyler in, whatever. How do you handle that? How do you handle that noise? Does it affect you? Does it get you off your spot? Are
Yeah.
you able to deal with it? And I don't know how that quiets down as long as you have people around that have hope and have the unknown, like, and have all this stuff. Like, so I think that's just going to be part of being successful here, is handling that, because there is going to be an element of it, and whoever they pick is going to have bad games. And there are people that really like Spencer and
Mhm.
they're going to be loud for him. There's people that really like Tyler and they're going to be loud for him if the other guy's starting. So whatever it is, that's going to be part of it. And that's just going to be part of life of playing quarterback here. And until you have a settled situation, until you have a franchise guy, that's just reality, period. Like, I don't know who the most benign person you could bring in here is to kind of be, that backup quarterback. Like, a Dalton probably doesn't have a ton of people screaming for him, but like, there aren't many that are just gonna kind of sit silently. I mean, Andy Dalton it wasn't loud, but he had people calling for him to play, when he was here. So I think that's just part of it until you become like just so strong that nobody else gets any sun and everyone just knows, like, all right, this is the guy. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
so
for
so
sure.
that's
For
really
sure.
kind of on you to silence it with your play, and you're gonna have to handle it. But I do think the noise is going to be a little bit different here, just kind of given the uniqueness of this situation. And one way or another, it's going to feel like there's an unwrapped present under the tree, and you're always going to be looking at it.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going through a list in my head of who even is left, but once these quarterback competitions around the league begin to shake out, maybe a Joe Flacco becomes available, something like that, to where you can bring somebody in here who's had experience and can help teach.
Will Flacco have noise? He led a playoff run.
Ooh, but he's so old.
If he ever got into a game, though, he would look so confident that I think that it
Yeah.
could create it. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Oh man.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know where the noise comes, but I will say, like, if it's Shuck and Flacco or Spencer and Flacco
Hmm.
versus Shuck and Spencer, Spencer and Shuck, the noise comes faster in the Spencer Shuck Spencer scenario than it would in the Flacco scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For
because it's
sure.
just there's like the idea that like, oh, well, this guy, no, I was right. Like he's the franchise quarterback. Put him in the game. He's the franchise. I told you. Like that's what it would be. Whereas with Flacco, it's like he ain't a long-term answer. So like
Right.
nobody's calling for Flacco until it gets so bad that it's like I can't take this anymore. And in
But
the flip
even
side, it's you're wasting time,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But even then, everything is so future forward. Why would you even allow that to become a thing? But I mean, if you're losing games, you got to try to give it your best shot at some point, just
Yeah.
for the sake of your locker room, the sake of the other players. Don't say, "Well, we're sacrificing the rest of you guys' career to see how this plays out." No, you have to go out there and try to win every game and try to maximize that. That'll do it for this segment. We'll come back after another break. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Why should I get Gordon?
Because when you're hurt, you need money. And I fight for the people of Southeast Louisiana every day. I got a client who injured their neck in a car wreck, $250,000. Another client was hit by a big truck and needed back surgery. I got them $700,000, and they deserved every single penny.
That's what I'm talking about. Why wouldn't I get Gordon?
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, just call me, New Orleans. Get it done.
Call 504-800-8888.
If you're hungry and just want something that actually delivers on flavor, this is it. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant just dropped some new menu items, and they're legit. The Philly cheesesteak po' boy is loaded up right, and the Philly pasta brings the same flavor, but in a new way. And don't skip the fried green tomatoes. Crispy, and that crawfish sauce is no joke. Open every day, delivering late. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Delicious food, superior service. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, the crown jewel of entertainment destinations. From the thrill of gaming, where every spin and deal brings you closer to fortune, to the excitement of sports betting, where you can feel the rush of victory. Our spaces and catering menu are perfect for any event. From business meetings to grand celebrations, immerse yourself in our vibrant atmosphere with live music that keeps the party going all night long. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football. It is now time for the Get Gordon question of the day, presented by Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Today's question comes from Stephen Hoover. Stephen asks, what to make of Mickey Loomis still not talking about the Derek Carr retirement situation? Monday he was asked, he was like, he kind of was silent on the situation. He gave a little answer, but it wasn't nothing to really say, oh, this is an answer.
When you win in like a negotiation, you don't need to go out there and tell anyone anything. Like you can just walk away and look. Matter of perspectives here. Maybe other people feel like they won. I don't know, but like I feel like the Saints got a good outcome on this. They took advantage of a circumstance. It wasn't a plan. They kind of got lucky. Were able to capitalize. Everything worked out in their favor, and they won. And they're getting the money back, and they're walking away.
Yeah.
Anything you can say at this point about that just makes it possibly ugly. It upsets it, and it turns drama into something that was clean. Like, I think
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
thing on this was getting out of it clean. So talking about it in any capacity, I think makes it dirty. And like the only thing that's really left for them to say is like, we handled this and you guys were all wrong about it. But like, what's the value in
There is
doing
none.
that? Really? Yeah. I mean, so I'm with the silence, man. Like, yeah, obviously, is a journalist, a storyteller, a podcaster, a video maker, someone that needs to do 15 topics a week for a show and runs a website that needs like 5 or 6 articles a week. I want him to talk about it. I try to get him to talk about it. I ask him questions about it. Every time I see him for like the next month, I'm going to try to get something in there. But like, as far as a question, but he's not going to answer. And I think that's just the smartest way to do it. Like, just let it he probably should just let this go. That's the best game plan.
Right. For the sake of content, oh yeah, I want that answer. But the sake of like, okay, you were gifted the cleanest exit ever in this situation. Do not try to bite this hand.
No.
I think you gotta, it's that same thing of, hey, for the sake of my job, I really want him to answer to make this more exciting, engaging, and all of that. But just from a perspective of his side, it's like, well, it worked out perfectly. I got the money back. He's not here. Everybody got what they wanted. Cool, clean. Let's cut this off. So
the papers haven't been filed either yet, by the way. You know what I mean? So like that doesn't happen until the 2nd. So like if you're calling for him to stand up there and pound his chest or something right now, like
no, south quick.
Yes, do not.
South quick.
Yeah, like it isn't like I don't know. Maybe it's like filed with a date and all that stuff already, but like
it ain't go through.
Yeah, it hasn't gone through. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because you wrote that don't mean you could go spend that money because that money ain't in your account yet. Boy, you better calm down.
And I'm not saying nothing like for anyone to be like alarmed or anything like that. Like this is going through clean and all that stuff, but like just acting stupid and doing
jumping on the table and doing a victory dance when they still got 3 minutes left on the clock is probably not the smartest thing to do.
Don't do the skull clap until the game's over. Like,
don't do it.
Yes.
Keep it to yourself.
Yes.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate you all for stopping in today. Catch you next time.